Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Once again, I'm up late. This is Eastern time. It is like 1:06 a.m. and I had a very eventful week and went through a lot of emotions. I had my court date on August the 15th of 2018, and it was the final court date. If you've been following my story, I had took certain family members to litigation and a defamation of character for all the smear campaigns that was going on, and I just thought it was necessary to get some legal ramifications in order. So I'm just going to share with you some of the things that have happened. And the reason why this video is actually titled Monarch, because that's the person who is in my family who is definitely showing strong signs of having a narcissistic personality disorder. And unfortunately, it had me not understanding my family unit for many, many years. And it took until I was in my early 50s to find out exactly what's happening. So, if you're the type of person that for many years you just cannot understand why your family has been extremely dysfunctional and someone in it just seems to be very, very extremely self centered, narcissistic, and has a way of influencing the others in the family. And if you have been blamed for a lot of things that you know for a fact that you had no no connection to, no cause to be blamed for it, then you might have someone in your family that has the narcissistic personality disorder, such as myself. So I'll let you go back to the other videos to catch yourself up after you, of course, watch this video so you can have a clear understanding exactly what I personally have been going through. So this is more of like a my story type of video. Um, and I'm just going to share my experience. So again, on August the 15th, I went to court. And when I went to court, um, it was myself, my husband, and adults, as well as the adults on um, the defendant side was one of my daughters and my mother and one of my oldest siblings. I mean, one of my siblings, oldest. Um, I am not going to reveal any names, but I will reveal personalities through this, as well as some of the comments that was actually said, and so be it. So as the trial had opened up, um, me being a plaintiff, I had presented my first complaint, which basically it was about defamation of character. The narcissistic mother, which is the monarch of the family, had to take the stand and had to ask a series of questions. My husband and I, we had both filed a complaint, a civil complaint against her. So he initiated it first. And as he went up, he basically had asked her a few questions. So some of the questions that was asked was she doing any cyberbullying, which we had presented evidence for it. She had been on social media, and she had been basically cyberbullying and stuff, stalking us. It's more of a cyber stalking us. And although we had asked her several times to leave us alone, she had continued to do it online. She continued to text and she continued to call. And believe it or not, we had called the police, and the police in our area would try to like talk us out of it, try to tell us ignore it, but to the point that it was for past annoying because our peace of mind and our peace of state was being very much interrupted by the harassment. So as we continue to interrogate the monarch of the family about some of her abnormal behaviors. Um, of course, she denied it all, or she made an excuse as saying that it was public, uh, public information to be able to go online and to research, like things like Lincoln and stuff. And if you're not aware that even if someone goes on Lincoln, if they don't put a privacy filter up on themselves through the Lincoln website, that you can actually see who has been checking you out. And she was one of them. So we have proof of that as well as Facebook proof. So, moving right along, another question that we had opposed to her was that back in 2012, which was just 6 years ago, another family member actually had put a protective order against her, a PFA, protection from abuse. And believe it or not, this narcissistic person tried to say that the reason why that they got a protection from abuse order was because of me. They tried to say that the distant relative thought had got a harassing phone call and thought it was them, but it was actually me, which was very false. Never called this distant relative. I never contacted this distant relative, which she had told a whole swam of information about them that now, looking back at it and seeing what's going on, I know she was actually defaming their character just like she's been defaming mine. The question was posed to her, well, why did you get the protection from PFA instead of me? And she really couldn't clearly answer that. She just said she just gave up the process and let it go about its way. But that's a bull crap and lie. All of a sudden now the legal system is just that stupid that if you got to protect you from abuse, it's because someone else did it and not you. And they just supposed to just believe that. And if the other parties have any evidence that you were the one and they knew your voice, they dealing with you, then why would they just all of a sudden for this incident think it's you and then all of a sudden you're not the one? So the point that I'm bringing in this as I'm sharing with you about my experience in this court session is that they cannot, these narcissistic people cannot do no wrong. Okay. They can't take blame for their own actions. They have to find someone to put it on. And so her mindset was that she can't do anything like this. This is not part of her personality. This is what she said now. And it was actually Wah, the plaintiff, who did that, and the court put it on them. That's exactly what she basically said, okay? So moving on, um, we have brought up this instance that there's certain things that she has said and done, and well, no, let me get this right. One of the other things was that was asked of her was um, because she was trying to say that I had a mental problem. Okay, that was her defense, that I was the one with a mental problem. And so it was asked of her, well, what things did I do that, would give you an idea of being having a mental problem? And she said, my sense of humor. She had nothing else to say, no, examples other than my sense of humor. So I said, everybody has a sense of humor, but she couldn't go into details, whatever that sense of humor was. And she went on to say more down the line about how it's mental health on my mother's side of the family and my father's side of the family to try to imply that I had it from both sides of the family, which turned out to be extremely false. One of my relatives shared with me on my father's side of the family that there is no mental health. Now, it is mental health on my mother's side of the family, but apparently it just skipped right over top of her and just came down to me, but she was telling another lie. So, again, she was the only one, and I am kind of give you a short little kind of short little detail about what happened. But if you could imagine someone in court trying to say that you have a mental health problem, and the reason why they got a charge, and the reason why all these things were happening again was because of you. You can envision how my court day actually went. Okay, and I was the plaintiff, she was the defendant. Her defense was again, I had a mental health problem. Okay. So then the next thing was it came to one of my sisters, and you're not gonna believe what I'm getting ready to say. So hold on tight because this is gonna be a trip, okay? So then it came down to my sister. My sister took a stand, and when she took the stand, she stated that um, I guess this must have supposed to happen a long time ago, but I stole her underwear. Yeah, 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 you heard me right. She told the court that I stole her underwear. She said some costume jewelry, and what else she said? Hmm, and some clothes. And I think she said I stole some of her friends' clothes. And let me tell you something. I I make pretty good money. I'm pretty okay. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm all right. Okay, I am not a thief. Never was, and never will be because that's not who I am. But for someone to be able to sit in the stand and talk like that in front of groups of people that they don't know, I'm gonna tell you straight out, they're bald faced crazy, and I called her a bald faced lie. Okay, she also had created this scenario. Now this is one of the flying monkeys I'm talking about right now. But she also created this scenario that one time I came over her house many, many years ago, and um, something was wrong with her leg or whatever. I don't know because this is not my story. This is hers. I'm trying to repeat. And she said that she was trying to get some food, and I held the food and made her crawl for the food. It was some crazy crap. And no, I did not do no crap like that. And of course, I object. And of course, like I said, I call her a bald faced liar, you know. But it amazes me how some people can go beyond to try to like just defame someone's character and just kind of just trying to break their character right down. Basically, at least that's what they thought they was doing. And to make a long story short, it was just a circus. It was a circus, okay? For someone to come out their mouth, I mean, their stuff was crazy. It was juvenile. It showed where their mental state was, okay? Um, and I can go on and on it, but that's some crazy stuff. But see, when you from a dysfunctional family that has a narcissistic personality disorder, that's what you come across. Come across a lot of crazy shit. Bottom line. So then the next thing was one of my daughters, and unfortunately, who has been kind of a follower in this, and it really breaks my heart. But when she got to asking questions and when she understand, um, and you see, I'm taking my time on this because it I never seen my daughter in this light before. She would always to be a positive person in my eyesight. I knew my daughter was a follower, but unfortunately, I've seen a personality that I just never thought existed in her. And basically, she had a time in her life, like we all had a time in our life, that she wasn't doing too good. And because of that, um, it was a financial thing. She came and stayed with me for the second time, and I let her stay in my house to kind of get herself on her feet so she can get back to being independent on her own. Well, the agreement was that she was only supposed to stay for 60 days. She wound up staying for, I think it was like 6 or 7 months. Each month when it went by, each month I reminded her of our agreement to leave, but it became extremely apparent that she wasn't trying to go nowhere. So I gave a very strong, firm ultimatum on a date that was January the 15th for 2017 that she had to get out of my house. Whether she found a friend, got a room, got her own a place, or whatever, but wherever it was going to be was not going to be in my home. Um, and she was a little upset behind. It was very obvious then that she did not want her to leave. But she got in the courtroom and was saying how that was just a verbal agreement and that why would I let her stay that long if that was true? And it was just a bunch of crap. It was very obvious she did not want to leave, did not want to leave. Um, and the other thing was is that when she stayed with me, I had bought her a car. I bought her not just a car, I bought her an SUV. And the SUV was 12,000 somehow dollars in cash. I paid for it because in full because when she got back on her feet, I wanted her to be able to not worry about a car note as well as an insurance payment, and to also be able to get better jobs by being able to have transportation to get there. And that was one of the problems that she was having. She got in the courtroom. She did not want to admit that I bought her a car. She did not want to give any credit basically to the fact that me and my husband was basically like trying to help her out. Um, when she did move out, she didn't want to give any credit whatsoever. And it was very obvious. In the end, she gave a tad bit credit to it, but it was like pulling teeth, even though she took the stand. It was horrible, okay? And it showed me how ungrateful she was. It showed me how that she had a false sense of entitlement. And it showed me that I made a big mistake by doing what I did. And it is what it is. So I've seen a different side of her. She was on the defendant's side, which she was a defendant in the case, well, because she was defaming my character. I took her to court as well. And the judge just like tried both of the cases together. And to make a long story short, she too was trying to say that I had some type of mental health, which I don't, but that I had some type of mental health problem. And she was now following the monarchy. Their whole, those three individuals' whole um, supporting motive, I don't know what to call it, was to try to come in court to say I had was something was wrong with me, that something has been wrong with me all these years. Did they have any evidence to it? No, not really. No. They tried to take every text, every email, every social media messages that might have been innocently, you know, communicated back and forth between them and myself. They try to take, and I'm talking about my daughter doing this, that she tried to take everything that she possibly could and they cut it up and they made little pictures and they brought it into the courthouse. Some of the things were cut up that they cut off. You didn't see if what number it came from or who it came from. And then some things were cut off and it wasn't my telephone number on, it was somebody else's. And then some of them was my telephone number. And because it was my telephone number, um, you could see that it was definitely for me. But those things, it wasn't nothing like it was harsh or nasty or showed any signs of mental health. It was nothing like that at all. It was just communications. But they try to come into the courthouse and try to twist things up to make it appear as if I was saying something that was not of sound mind. Okay. And I feel like this. If I was trying to say someone was having a mental health problem and it was so, so bad. Trust me, I'm not trying to stay in no damn house with them. Okay. So the crazy thing about all this is in the end, when we all gave our closing arguments about why we thought that we should be either awarded or not awarded, um, the crazy thing about it is when the monarch had got up, she testified and she tried to say that since I was little, people used to tell her that it was something wrong with me. And it was just these little things, little things. And the judge asked her too, what? And she was, just little things, little things. But again, never could say what these little things were. And then she went on to say things like, I should have took her when she was young. And then she pointed it all back to herself as the narcissistic personality disorder person would, and tried to say that she did nothing wrong and she's okay and she's so many words she was trying to paint the picture that she was just perfect, you know and that's what they do. um it was something else that I forgot that was extremely important to share. When we were children, because this was brought out in the opening court, but when we was all children, um my my sorry, my stepfather had exposed himself to one of my siblings, the sister actually that was in court. And during the testimony, my monarch had denied it and said she knew nothing about it, and no, was never brought to her attention, which it was. So she basically had lied in court and everything, and it was just terrible. It was terrible. She lied in court, and I'm sorry for going back and forth, but I wanted to make sure I get that out. But she just basically had lied and denied it. But when the sister who was against me as well got up there and I asked her about it, she admitted to it. But the crazy thing about it, the one hand she said yes, it did happen, but then on the other hand, she turned around and tried to um, protect him. Which I heard of people protecting their abusers, but that was crazy. She tried to protect him because I had reported him not too long ago of inappropriate kissing a kid, and the only witnesses that were there at the time was myself, the monarch, and him, and the little kid that was under 1 years old. So I had to take a breather. So she tried to say, and I'm talking about my sister. She tried to say in so many words that um, basically that I was lying. And it just behooves me how in the world, first of all, of course, she wasn't there. And how can you deny that if someone did something inappropriately to you, so you say, that they can't do it inappropriately to someone else? So, to make a long story short, everything that was said was tried to be twisted to make it appear. They came in to try to make it appear that I had a problem. That was their defense, that I had a problem, that I was very disturbed. And this is something that had been going on for years. So they had no problems coming to court. Now other people probably wouldn't have took that route. Others would probably took the route in denying that they said anything if they thought I had proof. But their motives and their direction was to try to say something was wrong with me, and they was asking a judge to get some help for me. Okay, craziness. Okay, so I'm saying my story, and to just let it be known, because a lot of times people be out there and they don't understand what's going on in their family. I didn't for many, many years. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And it's like you can try to put your finger on it. You know it ain't right, but you can't understand why everyone is acting a certain way. How is it that they just seem like they're being underneath a trance when it's very apparent something's wrong? You know, I mean, growing up, I was always blamed for things that I know I had nothing to do with. Nothing. And the prime example is this woman, I'm going back to the court, went to court because others had accused her of abuse. She probably was doing the same thing she had did to me and my husband, my family, but took her to court and won the court thing against her. But instead of her admitting that it was her, she still found a reason to admit it to somebody that wasn't even there. I wasn't there. I had no contact with these people. So, and the people which I'm referring to were very distant people, very distant, that she was defaming herself because she used to tell me stuff. And I would get angered behind it because back then I thought she was telling the truth. But now looking back at it, she was doing the same thing to them she was doing to me, you know. And that's what happens. It's like if they can get a hold of sharing information and character assassinating and telling vicious lies to people and putting up an image to people, very manipulative about how in the world, about these things that happen. And if you didn't know them personally, you didn't know any better, if you wasn't caught on to their manipulation and stuff, you will probably believe it. And in believing it, then you might be a type of person that will react to it and believe that those people are really like that when they're probably not. They're probably not. It's the narcissistic personality disorder person that causes this type of confusion among people in their families, people on the jobs, out in the communities. And it's like you just don't understand why this is happening, but it's because of that dysfunctional person. That's the root to all. I believe it to be very evil. I think it is spiritual connected. They're very wicked people. Wicked people. They thrive on attention of being the center. When they talk about being a monarchy, that gives them a sense of of control and power and how they can manipulate and things need to answer to them like a queen, like a queen of the kingdom, like someone who has witchcraft, you know, and it's a mental health. Don't get me wrong, it is a mental health, and I'm glad that they're trying to find more and more and more things about this mental health. But it has been also looked at that family counseling has not, as of yet, been able to solve this problem. The thing about it is when these people get a hold of when the family itself gets a hold of what's wrong, um, their version of what they feel as though is wrong in the family, it's very hard to change their mindset. It's like they're stuck. They're not going to believe anything you say. They're not going to say, oh, you're so right and I was so wrong. We gave, when we was in court on the 15th, we gave opportunities when we was on recess for it to be resolved and just look, just you go your way, I'll go my way. But they was dead set to try to prove that something was wrong with me. Okay, it was very obvious there was something wrong with them, but for some reason they can't see that. They think it's the other person, and the different personalities, like the flying monkey. I was a scapegoat. The golden child. The golden child was actually my brother. He wasn't there and stuff. Um, I'm not sure what position my sister was in, other than being a flying monkey and stuff. And my daughter, unfortunately, was a flying monkey. But they get set in these positions and these thoughts and become followers and a lot of twisted thinking, a lot of twisted thinking. And for some reason, that twisted thinking is their reality. And the way they view you and their reality is just that. So it's no change in their minds. The best thing that you can do is get yourself disassociated with them. And anyone who is connected with them, try not to be connected with them as well. If they show signs that they believe those people, you shouldn't be, you would, I advise that you start fresh because it's like a virus, it's like a cancer. It just spreads. It just spreads so badly to the point that it's like it just kills and deteriorates all types of relationships. And it takes a person who is not easily manipulated, who can see you for yourself to believe it. Okay? Believe who you are. And I personally have experienced this myself, so I'm speaking from experience. Another example, in all this that has been going on, my daughter had spoke to one of my stepdaughters and asked her at one point in time to like check this telephone number out that she didn't recognize that called her one day. So my sister did just that. Stepdaughter, I'm sorry, did just that, and she called the number up, and she listened to the voicemail. It wasn't no voicemail on it, but she called no voicemail greeting. It was just a telephone number. Why did she go back to say, "I think that was your mother"? It wasn't me. I knew nothing about the phone call. It wasn't my telephone number. It was actually my husband's number, which she knew nothing about it. My husband has one cell phone with two lines to it. One line is for personal, the one she knew about. The other line was for business, the one she did not know about. And what happened was my daughter had called my husband. My husband didn't recognize her number. He calls her back on his other line to find out who it is and screened his call. And that's when a number was like unidentified, and one thing led to another. But it all came out what the truth was. But they actually tried to offer two phone calls, try to put a PFA against me that didn't work. But they tried to put a PFA against me saying that I was calling them. No, I didn't. I stayed completely away. But see, that's an example that I'm trying to share how it can just spread from one person to the next person. So I definitely feel like there is some spiritual connectiveness to this. And I'm a faithful believer of God. I'm a Christian. I know God protects. I know He elevates. I know He sees things way before, we see things. He knows what His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. Okay. So I'm a true, true believer of the man upstairs. And I hold on to my faith. And I know He got my back. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, listen, when it comes down to what happened, and believe it or not, because of the violence that was associated with our case, we actually had a pre-trial back in March that it took for officers in the courthouse to keep us apart. So believe it or not, on this date of recent court date on August 15th, they actually had officers in there just in case we broke out. Okay, I'm being honest, because it was a hot mess the first time. And because of that, I never seen this being done before in my life, but the judge would not give his ruling in front of us. He basically said he was going to mail us his decision. So we haven't got it, well, at least I haven't got it yet. His decision. Um, I've been having mixed emotions about it, you know, and it's a civil case. It's not like someone's going to jail or anything like that. But see, I'm suing them for defamation of character because they have been just spreading rumors around, and it's been done for years, and have to wait and see exactly how that's going to be. So I'm just going to be on YouTube. Please subscribe. Please do that like and leave a message. And the question I have is, are you experiencing any narcissistic abuse? And if you are, from whom? Okay. So this is on step here. I'm sharing my story. And my story is just that, my story. Stay Stay humble, stay blessed, and know that it's not you. It's not you. As crazy as you might feel, because personally, myself, I've been going through some gas this going through things here, but it's not you. And thank you for visiting my channel, and you know, come back.